Welcome everybody. Today we are talking about Flutter and React Native. In particular, I want to give an overview, a high-level overview, in order to better understand what framework better suits your needs. I'm Gomiero. I work at Unware, that is a Venice and Berlin startup based, and we are trying to reduce the gap that there is between job role, between job market and guys. And also in my free time, I'm a co-leader of the Google Developer Group of Venice. These are my contacts if you want to stalk or follow me. And let's start with a disclaimer. All the stuff that I'll be saying today is based on my experience. So an experience of a native Android developer, an object-oriented developer, and you can have a different experience or maybe the same. I'm glad to chat with you about it. And as in all my talks, I like to tell some context and tell a story that made me create the talk. So last Christmas, I started to study Flutter because I was just curious about it. And at the same time, I need to learn React Native because we started using it at work. So I want to make something real in order to learn it. And so I decided to develop an application, the same application, both with Flutter and React Native. I only say that the application reproduces audio. If you are curious about it, please let me know. And let's start with some history. React Native was developed first in 2013 during an internal hackathon at Facebook. And later on January 2015, the first preview has been released. And later, on May 2015, the first official release has come out, and it has been open sourced officially. Flutter instead is younger, and the first things about Flutter came out on 2015 during Dart Dev Summit, and 2 years later, the first alpha release came out, and finally on last December, the first stable release is come out. So, as you can see, these are the trends on Google search, and you can imagine what Flutter is the blue one, and it's getting closer to React Native, so the community and the topic is hot this time. So let's talk about now about the language. The official language of React Native is JavaScript, and JavaScript for object-oriented apps is strange. If you're not used to the first time, is a little bit difficult. For example, for the type handling, in fact, JavaScript is a loosely typed language, and if you are not, the type can be decided at runtime, and this can lead to stuff that happens, very bad stuff. It happens that the app fails. Nobody is aware about it. It took several hours to figure out, and just tell me that it's wrong. So there are also lots of different vision about inheritance in JavaScript, better with respect to object-oriented languages. And also there is an ecosystem confusion. There are many libraries for do the same things. Flutter instead was developed in 2011 by Google, and Google want to fix things that fixed bad thing of JavaScript by creating a language that brings all the good stuff from JavaScript and object-oriented languages. So it's more friendly for object-oriented devs. And for example, it's a strongly typed language, but the type can be inferred at runtime, so both parties are happy. And also it has a flat learning curve. In fact, in just a few days, I took 3 or 4 days during Christmas holiday to get proficient with Flutter, not with Dart. Not an high level, but you can, in a very short time, make these things. And two interesting feature of Dart is the capability to compile to native code and to transpile code to JavaScript. So two important characteristics for mobile and web. Notice between moving forward, I'm not doing a crusade against JavaScript here. I'm just telling my experience as a native Android developer. And every people can have different favorite language, things differently. That's the beauty of the world, I think. And so, keep using your favorite language. Let's talk now about UI, or how to build things visual things in both languages. And we are doing it with some code. Here there is a simple hello world application with React Native. This is one with Flutter, very conscious, I like. And let's focus on React Native. As you can see, there is a stylish part where you can adjust the style of your application, and there is a part that actually renders your application. In fact, there is the render method, and here you define your architecture, your visual architecture. In this case, there is a view component with inside a text component. So, as you can have thought, components are the building blocks for UI in React Native. You can fit together to create a more complex UI. And they are defined using a language that is a mixture of JavaScript and XML. It's very simple, you can learn in about 2 seconds. And the style, you can customize the style of your application with CSS. Or better, things that is 99% similar to CSS on the web. You can find this difference only when shit happens, your style doesn't work, so you find out on Google, yeah, that's okay. Of course, there is tons of components. You can find it in official documentation. And let's move to Flutter. As you can see, there is less code to do the same things. And here there is a center widget with inside a text widget to show our simple hello world phrase. So widgets are the main building components for the UI on Flutter, and the concept is the same of React Native. In fact, Google claims it on the documentation that it clearly takes inspiration from React Native. And basically in Flutter, everything is a widget. Is a widget the structural element like buttons, menu, a widget the stylistic element like font, color, etc. And a widget also the attribute of the layout like padding and alignment, margin, etc. Basically, all the entire application is a widget. Is a widget of widget of widget. There is also for Flutter there is a catalog with the different widgets, and if you are interested, you should have a look. And so we have that in Flutter we stay with in the same context, and we use Dart language to define our UI. Instead, in React Native, we have to use another language, but it's not a pity. literally 3 seconds to learn how to make it. And in both languages, in both framework, you can modularize your UI, or better, you must modularize it. If you don't do it, in a few seconds, your code will be a completely messy, tons of line of components nested together, doesn't understand nothing. Please do it. So now let's give a look under the hood on what happens. In React Native, there is a core infrastructure that is built at runtime every time when the application is started, and this infrastructure is called the bridge. And basically, it lets call JavaScript code and from native code and vice versa. In particular, the JavaScript code runs in a virtual machine, and this virtual machine is shipped with iOS, but in Android there is not present by default, and so needs to be shipped inside the APK. So in Android there are 3 or 4 megabytes plus the entire size of the application. That's just a fun fact. Was why. So all the communication of the bridge is event-driven. So we have 3 different actors. So the native part, the bridge, and the JavaScript code. So let's assume that the native application wants to the native application is open, and when it's open, the native code sends to a trigger to the bridge that he wants to open the app. The bridge serializes the information and basically builds a JSON and passes the JSON to the JavaScript code. The JavaScript code processes the event and decide that it's time to render something. So passes this information to the bridge that builds another JSON with some mapping information, and the native part finally renders our view. So basically there is a correspondence between Flutter components, from React Native components and native widgets. All these calls are batched together and sent to native and vice versa in a asynchronous way. These calls are not sent in a single way to avoid overhead, so are basically in a queue, and every 5 milliseconds the queue is flashed and all the things are passed to the correspond to the native or the JavaScript part. Facebook team is working on a new architecture because as you can think, all this message passing is but it has a little overhead and it can cause delay. And it's working on an infrastructure that makes all synchronous. I don't investigate about it, but if you're curious, there is a talk provided by Facebook, and I have to look it. And they provide all the information of this architecture that they are being developing. So let's jump to Flutter. As I said earlier, that code can be compiled into native code. So all the widgets are compiled to native code, and all the rendering is done by an engine wrote in C++, and basically it's the same thing that happens with some game engine. So everything that every iteration with the app is is sent to the engine, and the engine handles it. To render the widget, in particular, we use Flutter uses Skia, that it's a 2D graphic library, and probably you have already heard about it because it's used in Chrome and Android. One pro of this graphic library is that leverages GPUs to render things, so it's very fast. But the cons is that the upsize is larger because this engine has to be included in the APK, and also all the widgets must be included. So, as we can see earlier, in React Native, the components are simply translated into native one. Instead, in Flutter, Flutter includes its own widgets. So there is a correspondence, and this way, if Apple or Google updates the native components in iOS and Android, React Native is transparent to it, and maybe it could continue to working without any intervention. There is not the case. Instead, Flutter team must update its widget because it's not the native one, but they are a custom version very similar to the native one. This is a cons, but the pro that the very good pro is that Flutter kills the delay due to the initialization runtime of the bridge and all the messages passing between native and JavaScript. So translation time there isn't, and it's all fast. So let's jump to some conclusions. Today I talk about cross-platform. And I think that cross-platform is not bad, but it's absolutely not better than native. And if you hear from me saying that it's better, please kill me, because someone hacked me. I'm not me talking. Besides jokes, cross-platform. I think that cross-platform is a choice with compromises that depends on your team and on things that you have to do. For example, you could have a feature that changes very quickly, and maybe you don't have a clear understanding of what you have to develop. Manage the design changes very quickly, and so you can develop this feature in React Native or Flutter and put inside your native application. So only a small part of your application is cross-platform, and this works, or maybe it's working. If you go cross-platform, you have to be. You must have the consciousness to take a step back if things get too much trouble. If you have so much bugs, you have lots of pain. Take a step back and say I failed and move back, like Airbnb did some time ago. But React Native or Flutter, right now in this moment, I think that React Native is more stable and solid, even if I don't like JavaScript. But React Native is older, and there is a community very strong, and so if you are planning to go cross-platform, right now use React Native. But Flutter is absolutely the future, even if Google drop it. Please don't do because Flutter has better performance than other framework, and there isn't the delay of message passing, so it works better. And also Dart is a more modern language. It's not as beautiful as Kotlin, but it's better than Zap. There are some useful links that give you. I publish the slide later on. You can download it from. You can find it on my social. And these are my references. And if you have some question, I'm here or maybe outside. That's it.